Good evening. I would like to start this Monday, October 6th, School Committee Business Meeting to order. Mrs. Yell, will you take the roll, please?
Mayor Reardon.
Here.
Juliet Walker.
Present.
Kathleen Shaw.
Here.
Sarah Hall.
Here.
Brianna Higgins.
Here.
Brian Callahan.
Here.
Andrew Boger.
On his way. Is that it? Okay. Can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll now turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Walker.
All right, thanks, Mayor. So we'll start the agenda off with public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak for public comment? And we don't have anyone participating from the Zoom, so we will move on in the agenda. Number 3 on the agenda is student recognition. We'll start that off with the MASS Certificate of Academic Excellence.
All right, thank you very much. I'll move up to the podium here. This is a great honor here tonight to recognize one of our high school students. Across the Commonwealth every year, this award is designated by the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents to award academic excellence, and it's to be given each year to a high school senior that has distinguished themselves in pursuit of excellence during their high school career. So our 2025-26 recipient is going to be Maddie Jackman. Why don't you come on up, Maddie? And as a parent, I like to embarrass my children, so I'll embarrass you with all your accolades. Well, first of all, Maddie is currently the class president, 2026, as well as being named NEF board member since 2024, and is also a student rep for the school committee since 2024. She's also the president and founder of the NHS Red Cross Club, and she's coordinated speaker series and has spearheaded a plan to get local restaurant employees CPR certified. And as you all know, if you've been watching the news across the nation, she's been on CBS News and New Edition and many of the news broadcasts for all of her efforts in this endeavor. In addition to that, this isn't on the script, this is what I know, Senator Tarr also brought Maddie with him for legislation for Massachusetts that all high school students will be certified in CPR before they graduate. So this is an idea that she had when she was very young, and it's come to fruition, and she started all of this work when she was 16 years old. So thank you so much for all of that. It's an amazing accomplishment. You deserve a round of applause for that. And I'll continue with some more of her accolades and accomplishments. Maddie also participates in Model UN team. She's also on the Sailbot robotics team, Rotary Club. She's the tennis and is a member of the Tennis and National Honor Society. Along with her commitment to these roles and activities, Maddie's worked diligently to keep herself in the top 5% of her graduating class. And then during her senior year, she's enrolled in AP Calc, AP Physics, AP Lit, AP Government, as well as Anatomy and Physiology college credit course at Southern New Hampshire University. In the spare time, if she has it, you may have seen Maddie. She works in the pharmacy at CBS, is also a skating monitor at Graff Rink, and her level of responsibility and interest in learning is second to none. When asked to describe Maddie, her teachers and club advisors all describe her as a passionate and driven individual who inspires others with her caring approach and her ability to work with everybody. Additionally, her smile is contagious. So with that being said, it is an honor to present Maddie Jackman with the Superintendent's Achievement of Excellence. Congratulations. Once you stand, come on up. Also, Vice Chair.
Why don't we,
Ms. Walker.
why don't we go over there so we're not behind the screen? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
it sounds good. All right. That's why you're the mayor.
Hopefully there's more room stuff, yeah.
And then, yes, family, come on up, take pictures. This is the photo op. Come on up. And then I'm not sure if you guys want a family photo too, while we're here. Everybody? Yeah. I love this. Congratulations, everyone. Yeah, on the end. There you go. Perfect.
All the boys shake their head no. They ask for a picture. Someone else's family. Like, I'm really proud of you.
Great.
I think we're going to just take a 5-minute recess, so if folks want to go congratulate Maddie and her family, feel free to do that.
All right, thank you.
All right, continuing with our agenda, we have the warrant.
We do.
Yes, Mr. Callahan.
I move that the following named bills of the Newburyport Public Schools amounting in the aggregate $458,371.44 be approved and forwarded to the city auditor for payment. There are no conflicts.
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Everyone received the warrant in advance by email. All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The vice chair votes aye. Okay, next item is meeting minutes for the September 22nd, 2025 meeting. Take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections or discussion? All right, if none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the vice chair votes aye. Okay, next item is we get to meet our student committee, student representatives. Thank you both for being here tonight. We want to just take a minute to introduce ourselves and also hear from you guys. We do have, as I've let the committee know, we have 3 representatives this year. One is Maddie Jackman, who's returning as a senior, as a rep. She's a senior this year. And then we have Anna Purvier, who's a junior, and Cassidy Balcombe is a senior. So I know 2 of you are here. If you guys want to just do a quick intro, similar to what we did, the mayor and I did have a chance to meet with you and just sort of explain what the role of the student rep is. And we also shared that some of the comments we had from our retreat earlier this year about wanting to have a little more participation and communication with the committee and the reps. So we have some ideas about how to do that, but starting with just getting to know you. So I don't know which one of you wants to go first.
I can go first.
Okay.
So my name is Anna Purvier, and I'm a junior at the high school. I am the vice president of Best Buddies. I play tennis, and I'm the secretary of Global Scholars.
Yeah, and I'm Maddie Jackman, and again, I'm the president of the Red Cross. I'm very involved with that in the community, and then I've served in a lot of leadership roles around the school and outside of it. So yeah. We're very excited to be student reps this year. I guess our main role is pretty much to kind of share the news from a student's perspective, and then also contribute, of course, if our kind of opinions, the student voice in many issues. So
Great.
we hope to really contribute with the school committee this year.
Great, awesome. And maybe we could just take a minute, if you guys want to go around the table and just say who you are, how many years you've served, if you're on any subcommittees, and any other nugget of information you want to share. Starting with Mr. Boger.
My name's Andy Boger, and this is my end of my second year, I suppose, and I'm on the FinCom, the financial subcommittee, and the communication subcommittee, which Mr. Callahan has called ComCom. And a bit of trivia is that I share, and I'm down the hall from your father at work in office, so I check in on your many endeavors and exploits monthly.
Good nugget. Okay. Mr. Callahan?
Brian Callahan, this is my 8th and final year on the school committee. I will be the Ward 3 City Councilor starting in January. I'm on the NEF board, so Maddie and I know each other from there. I'm the chair of the finance subcommittee, and I'm on ComCom with Sarah Hall and Andy Boger. And that's about it.
Great.
Hi, I'm Brianna. This is my 3rd year on the school committee. I'm on the policy subcommittee and teaching and learning subcommittees.
Any nuggets?
My oldest son just started kindergarten this year to Bresnahan.
I'm Sean Reardon. I've been on the school committee just over 8 years now. I just had my 8th year, so and then hopefully I get to still be on the school committee come next year. We'll see. Nuggets about me: I too graduated from the school, and if I was in the school back then, right now, I would be probably just about at the 3-point line, because this was our gym back in the day. So the hoop was right there, and I think right about here. Yes. Right about here, I would be right behind the 3-point line.
Would you make that
which
shot?
is where I usually like to be, so that's good. My favorite gym in the whole world.
Well, now it's a library, and a wonderful
And
library.
it's a great library.
Juliet Walker, and I'm the vice chair right now. I've served on the school committee. This is my 4th year. Let's see, a nugget. Well, I think I shared both of my sons went to all the schools in Newburyport, and it was quite cool to have them go all the way from preschool all the way up to senior year. So they are both in college now. One's a freshman and one's a senior. So.
All right, Sean Gallagher, Superintendent of Schools, going into my 8th year. Mr. Kelly and Mr. Reardon hired me, so they're good at hiring.
You're welcome.
I guess a little nugget of mine is I'm not sure how many more cartwheels I have left in me at the pep rally. So this year's cartwheel took a lot out of me.
Ooh.
Like 2-day recovery. But,
Wow, that's not good.
I'm good right now. So
All right. I'm glad to hear it.
yeah.
I'm Kathleen Shaw. I'm on the policy subcommittee as well as the teaching and learning subcommittee. And I'm a representative to the Special Ed Parent Advisory Council.
Any nuggets? How about your nickname?
My nickname, Mama Shaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are people that have preceded you that know me from I did some work with the Newburyport Youth Services and taking service trips to Kenya. So that's my handle. So if you have any older sibs and recognize that name.
Handle. I like that. This is fun. All right, I'm just gonna move this. Oh, I guess I can't. Okay, I'll project. My name is Sarah Hall. This is my 4th and final year on the school committee. I was the vice chair for the first 3 years. I am on the ComCom communications as well as teaching and learning. And my nugget is that I played flute in the pit orchestra for Into the Woods, which was a really awesome experience. So,
And an awesome show.
yes.
Well done. All right, thanks. So as I explained tonight, I know Maddie's been to this before, but both of you can just sort of settle in. You're both welcome to stay for the whole meeting. If it goes long and you need to leave, you can just quietly get up and go. Where we have opportunities for input, we welcome that. You are non-voting members, but you can participate in the discussion. So don't feel any pressure, but certainly feel free to participate. And as I mentioned to the full committee, we'll be coordinating some opportunities to have direct interactions with the students as well, and the school committee members. All right, so now we'll let you have your moment of glory, which is the report.
Okay. So, in Bresnahan news, October is Safety Month at the Bresnahan. So, everyone will be working towards a big goal, 1,000 acts of safety across the school. To kick things off, a whole school assembly would be held to talk about what safety looks like. For example, who are the community helpers? How can we be leaders in showing safety at school? And how can we manage big emotions in a safe way? Safety will also be a focus during our morning meetings, with students taking part in thoughtful groups, activities, and discussions. Parents are encouraged to check in with their child about what it means to be safe in both school and the community. Thank you all who have attended the first Caregiver Conversation Coffee Hour. It was wonderful to connect and hear from the counseling team about helpful tips for families who may experience challenges with separation. Thank you to the PTO for sponsoring the event with coffee. The next coffee hour will be held on October 29th. The topic will be the new standards-based report cards. In Knock Middle School news, the Knock is off to a great start. The annual Socktober drive is underway with a goal to collect over 2,000 pairs. All donations will go to the Pettingale House at the end of the month. Socks are a very in-need item, and every pair truly makes a difference. The Knock appreciates the support and generosity of our community. Looking ahead, the Knock Theater Department proudly presents The Miracle on 34th Street on November 20th and 21st at 6 p.m. This holiday classic is a perfect way to kick off your seasons, and we hope you'll join us in supporting our talented performers. Please mark your calendars. And then lastly, the Knock Open House is on Wednesday, October 8th at 5:30 p.m. And then in high school news, on October 8th, 20 students and 2 teachers from our partner school in the Black Forest will be visiting Newburyport and attending classes at the high school. They will spend 2.5 weeks here getting a taste of New England in the fall. The partnership between these 2 schools is just shy of 2 years now. And then the Global Citizens program will begin a classroom exchange in September with local nonprofit, Small Solutions, Big Ideas, and Rise Kenya Youth as a part of the Bugaton Village Schools in rural Kenya. The project is called 2 Worlds, 1 Lens, and uses photography and writing to develop an understanding between students from each school. And that's all we have for tonight.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on in our agenda, we have our representative from Whittier, Mary DeLay. Yeah, do you mind coming up here? Thank you.
Good evening, school committee members. Thank you for having me. I hope that you all had a wonderful start to your school year, as I know that Whittier did. I'm actually going to start with the summer and just share some of our celebrations from the summer and the school year. Starting with Whittier's Career Technical Initiative program. This is a highly successful program that's designed to upskill unemployed and underemployed residents of the 11 communities in the region by providing free training in high-demand fields like manufacturing, construction, and skilled trades. We had 90 students complete CTI training during the summer of 2025. 50% of those students confirmed employment in their training area on the 30-day follow-up, so there's good results there. Whittier has received a Round 10 grant in the amount of $931,000 to continue, and that will fund the program for 2026, for the summer of 2026. We have 55% of the senior class participating in co-op programs, also a strong number for us this early in the year. And we have a number of new industry-recognized credentials that are now being offered to Whittier students. For example, the OSHA 10 credential, which is a really important credential for those in the trades. Also, architectural draftsperson credentials for our students in that program, and a certified nursing assistant certification for our students in that program. Adult ed, our fall term has been very strong. We actually have 100 students participating in the fall enrichment program and 277 students participating in plumbing and electrical programs as well. The school received a $1 million skills grant from the state, and this is for this year to modernize its metal fabrication and welding space with new equipment and ventilation. The committee also voted recently to investigate 6 new potential Chapter 74 pathways based on analysis of regional workforce demands and opportunities. These include criminal justice, public safety, environmental science and sustainability, facility maintenance management, information support services and networking, robotics and automation engineering technology, and veterinary science. So those are our celebrations. In terms of other updates, a few important things happening at the Whittier School Committee. First of all, as you all know, the school district was invited into the eligibility period in August. One of the first things that it is tasked with doing is to form a school building committee. The MSBA required that the Whittier School Committee appoint that school building committee by September 30th. On September 10th, the committee voted to appoint a rather large 23-member committee. That committee includes 1 local official from each of the 11 communities. Those were designated and submitted by the chief executive officer of each of the 11 communities, so the mayors or the select board chairs. The chair of the Whittier School Committee also recommended the appointment of an additional 12 representatives, including 6 Whittier Tech administrators, 2 additional Haverhill local officials, both of the current Haverhill representatives to the Whittier School Committee, and 2 representatives from the Northern Essex Community College. You may have heard or read that I did submit a letter to the editor. I took issue or expressed concerns about a few items. First of all, the disproportionality of Haverhill members on that school building committee. The chair's response was that he did not look at addresses when naming the committee members, but only at qualifications. Also, there are no representatives on the school building committee with a background in architecture, engineering or building construction, something that the MSBA typically looks for in a school building committee. So I did write that letter more so to just sound the warning bell that I really feel strongly that we have to learn the lessons of the past with regards to communication and transparency. This didn't feel entirely transparent. We did not receive any of the correspondence, despite asking for that. We did not receive any of the correspondence from the individual cities and towns about who they were designating to the committee and why. Mayor Reardon was kind enough to share his letter with me, but as a committee, we were not provided with the letters that were submitted by each of those committees, nor was it made publicly available in our packet because it wasn't shared with us. So I felt strongly that we were not entirely able to do our due diligence, and I think that's something that you, as a committee who appointed me, would expect that we would do. And therefore, my vote that night was to vote present. There was one member who voted no, the rest voted to support the appointments. So that committee did move forward to MSBA. The other very important committee that has to be established is the Regional Agreement Amendment Committee. That's a mouthful, so we're calling it the RAC. At its September 10th meeting, the school committee heard a presentation from the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools. The presenter provided an overview of the process that's typically used to amend a regional agreement. Since the regional district itself is remaining the same, it will not be a new agreement, but an amended agreement. That said, nearly every aspect of that agreement is on the table for potentially being amended. The presenters suggested that there be a balance of local officials and school committee members, but the school committee was informed that the municipal working group that has been meeting diligently over the past number of months, that they expressed an interest in being part of that regional agreement amendment committee. So on September 10th, the committee was asked to vote to establish that regional amendment agreement committee. I did offer a motion to have the working group consist of not just the 11 members of the municipal working group, but also 4 members of the school committee. That motion was accepted and the vote was in the affirmative. Let's see. The other important matter before us was actually the admissions policy. In May of 2025, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education adopted amendments to the regulations governing the recruitment and admissions of students to CTE schools in the Commonwealth. And this would be beginning this school year 25-26. So this is the recruiting season that's about to begin. That legislation stated that when there are more applicants than available seats, CTE schools and programs must conduct an admissions lottery that includes the names of all student applicants. The DESE policy, or the DESE requirements, did allow districts to assign additional weights for students who meet one or more of the following criteria. They had fewer than 10% unexcused absences in the past 270 days. They had no major disciplinary infractions. We're talking about 37H1/2, 37H3/4 type infractions, and a demonstrated interest in pursuing CTE. We formed an ad hoc admissions policy subcommittee on which I served. That committee met with administration twice to review and discuss the various lottery options available to us. I commend the administration for its very student-centered, thoughtful approach. In the end, the subcommittee voted, based largely on the recommendation of administration, to institute a non-weighted lottery. So no weights, it's a fully non-weighted lottery. I am super proud of us for passing this. I think that this really addresses some of the concerns about leveling the playing field when compared to the former admissions process, which was based on selective criteria. We did need to come up with a way to ensure that every city and town was allocated some number of seats. As you know, given the number of applications that come from behavioral, it was possible that a lottery could produce a very skewed result, with Haverhill taking the majority of the seats. In addition, we wanted to be able to provide some budget guidelines or guidance to cities and towns. Obviously, if you all of a sudden went from having 28 students enrolled to 40 students enrolled, it would have an adverse impact on your budget. So as a result, the policy, as adopted, recommends that basically the allocation for the individual cities and towns would be based on a 10-year average of enrollment from students from each city and town. For Newburyport, that average was 7 students. So that means for the 25-26 school year, Newburyport will be guaranteed a minimum of 7 seats. The full committee adopted this policy on October 1st, and just to let you know that that policy states that the committee will review the policy each year and make adjustments as necessary, since this is all very new to all of us. Concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Lai. That was quite a lot of content and really good. You've been very busy. Because we're just starting off the new year, school year, and we haven't heard from our Whittier rep in a little bit, I just wanted to make sure that folks understand that we have reintroduced having the Whittier reps for Newburyport come to our school committee meetings on a regular basis, because even though our school committee does not have any kind of real jurisdiction over Whittier, we think it's important for the Whittier folks to have an avenue through which to communicate with the larger community about what is happening at Whittier, because our community pays part of Whittier's operational budget. And we have a seat at the table, so to speak, in terms of how it's run. And there's been a lot of other things happening, so this was a way to introduce a new communication mechanism. We have 2 reps from our community that serve on the Whittier School Committee, and our role as a school committee, our one role related to Whittier, is to actually approve those reps. So we did vote to approve Mary July when the term came up, and there is one other rep as well. So we do appreciate that you are taking your responsibility very seriously, and it's great all the things that you were able to report out on. With that, I'll open it up if folks have questions. Yeah.
I don't have a question so much. I just want to say I applaud your voting present on that vote. I find that present sometimes sends a larger message than no. I'm disappointed 2/3 of that body didn't also vote no. That whole situation seems ridiculous, honestly. Is that like set in stone now forever, or if there's enough pushback, can that school building committee ever be altered?
The process from here is that the Massachusetts School Building Authority now needs to approve the school building committee as appointed by the committee. I did correspond with the MSBA and shared my concerns with them. I don't carry very much weight with the MSBA, so I don't know that that's going to sway their judgment. But I did, again, in the same spirit with which I wrote the letter to the editor, just wanted to call attention to the fact that we, I believe, need to do a much better job with transparency. And to that end, I would encourage this committee, as well as the city council, to have the representative from the school building committee. This is a very important project, and I think this was a piece that was missing. It's not the school committee that's making the decisions about this project. It's the school building committee. In fact, we do not, at this point, make any more decisions about this school building project. The only decisions to be made will be by the school building committee, and then eventually by the cities and towns when it comes time to appropriate funding for the actual project itself. So I would highly encourage that the representative for the school building committee come at least quarterly as well, and provide an update on the school building committee, the school building project during the course of the 5 to 7 years that this project is likely to take.
Thank you.
Who is our representative?
Frank Cousins.
Thank you. Okay, other questions? Yeah, Mr. Boger?
Yeah, in terms of the, it's okay if you don't have these numbers, but and they've come up before, but I'm just curious, with the running average of 7 Newburyport students, do you have a sense of what the demand is, meaning how many kids generally apply?
I just so happen to have some numbers. It's not a trend, but for last year, for Newburyport, 12 students submitted applications. 4 of them were waitlisted. 8 of them were accepted. I think that's a general trend, so basically 67% of students were accepted. That varies a little bit from town to town. Overall, the rate overall is at 57% of students were accepted last year that applied, so we did a little bit better than the average.
And so the overall enrollment is pretty flat. I mean, it's a minimum of 7, but that generally isn't going to go up because
Yes.
it's fairly capped, right?
Yes, yeah. There, if for some reason another town does not fill its quota or its allotment of students, then those seats will become available to the full lottery, irrespective of the towns they come from. So it's possible that if there were extra seats, that maybe Newburyport students would be able to, there'd be a couple more students that would come in, but it wouldn't be a significantly more than the 7.
Excellent. Thank you. That was remarkably thorough.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but Mary and I got to talk a little bit yesterday about this. So, I've been going to these working group meetings for a while now. When the vote first happened, we all put together a task force that we were trying to tackle the regional agreement. Haverhill was putting up a really big fight around that, so we kind of figured we weren't going anywhere. So then this, working group started instead, where we were really focused on this, MSBA project, just so we could stay back in line, right? Everything just seemed to be a rush to stay back in line so we don't lose that funding. So, there was a lot of pushback there. Again, we all had to sign, all 11 communities had to sign a letter. We had to approve that letter to move that forward, so we could stay in line. I actually have another Whittier meeting tomorrow. We just had one last week as well, but I have one tomorrow as well. So there will be like 2 tracks going here, and Mary mentioned that. One will be the regional agreement, because that has to get fixed. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what the building committee wants to do. Otherwise, that's not going to happen. So we're going to keep moving forward with that. Haverhill now is recognizing that there's no chance of having a new, they've pretty much admitted, like, yes, of course, we're going to have a new agreement. We had a similar meeting with that group, and it didn't go as well. So I'm curious why they met with you two, the regional agreement group. So I'll ask about that tomorrow. But because we all had questions about that too, right? Because they said typically you don't change the agreement, you just amend it. Whereas I'm still of the belief, and that's why I think for me, it's tough because we're really focused on the MSBA portion of this, but this is really a brand new thing that we're putting together here. The shared campus model with Northern Essex isn't happening anywhere else in Massachusetts. So it's not just an MSBA, it's, in my opinion, not just an MSBA program. That's just one set of funding that should be available for this type of project. This is also a higher ed project because we are now partnering with this community college entity where there's going to be now a pathway for kids to go all the way up through CTE right into, associate degree programs. So it's new, right? So I think we're all still trying to figure it out, and we're all like kind of rushing against the clock and trying to push this along. But at some point, I think the state's going to have to get a little bit more involved than they've been, or at least be sitting at the table with us, whether that be the LG's office or the governor's office, or whoever wants to be there. But there's going to have to be more than just this MSBA if this project's going to be successful. Like I said, we had a meeting last week. It was really productive. The building committee, we shared the same, we had that whole conversation. We had the same concerns that Mary did. I think most of us were satisfied with some of the background we got back from that. I don't know. It's difficult. But I do think now that we have these 2 tracks going, that I think there's at least a path to get some movement on the regional agreement. But that's not easy either, right? It's not like we can hire a lawyer that works for all of us, because every single community is going to have their own things that they're looking for in that. So even just to figure out how that actually works. Newburyport had brought a lawyer on during the vote because we wanted to look at all our options. And so we've actually done a lot of this work already. And then I know Newbury actually looked at what we did and then voted up or down all the different things that we had suggested. So, we're going to include that kind of work because some of that work's been done. But like I said, every community has a vested interest in like what that regional agreement's going to look like moving forward. So it's a lot of work. That's why these things are going to take a lot of time. But that building committee is going to be super important because to me, like, nobody really even knows what we're talking about yet. It sounds good about the shared campus model. It's, Northern Essex certainly has the land to build something. They certainly have, it sounds like they certainly have the space where we can utilize some of that for administrative offices or however else they want to have that shared campus piece of it look like. But like at the end of the day, we really don't know what it looks like. And so hopefully through that building process, they'll get an idea of like, all right, what's this school going to be? What's the future of the school going to be? How is it going to continue to be able to adapt with the community college? And then through that, I think they figure out what's the programs look like from there. So there's just a ton to figure out. It's the whole thing's very complicated, and I think we're doing okay. But like the communication piece, I think is where we're still tripping over ourselves a little bit. And that was the biggest thing with the vote before, right? And so I don't think it's intentional, but like we didn't know that when we were submitting our buildings. I'll say this for me. When we were submitting our names about who we wanted to represent us in the building committee, we did not even know, or it wasn't talked about, that it was going to go to the school committee for a vote. So that was just like a minor detail, but like we had no idea. All of a sudden we heard like a vote was happening that night. Wait a second, what are they voting on? Like, so that's things like that continue to happen, which again, then we have to have special meetings and everyone has to come and like everything off their chest, and then we kind of start over. So at some point, we've got to get a better handle on that as far as the communication piece, and I think that's a Whittier and Northern Essex joint venture there to get those communications lined up, and just so we're, again, being transparent, all on the same page. And I do think there's a lot of energy around getting to a solution here, which is good, because sometimes, I would say even 2 months ago, it was in danger of completely falling apart. We actually had a community that wasn't even at the table yet out of the 11, and we finally got Raleigh to come sit down. So we're definitely in a better place, but there's a lot more conversations that need to be had.
If I could just add,
Sure.
I am 110% behind this project. I really want to see this project done. It is for that very reason that I sounded the alarm. My biggest fear is that we end up where we were before, 3 years into this project, and there are allegations of miscommunication and lack of transparency that causes the next one to fail. So that's why I felt compelled to say we can and need to do better if we want to see a different result. What's that quote about doing the same thing, the definition of instability? So I think it's really important. I also just wanted to add to the regional amendment agreement discussion, based on my experience consulting with some regional districts. The reason why Mars is saying what they're saying is because about amending versus a new one is that the regional entity is proposed to continue to exist as is. It's not like we're creating a new regional entity. These 11 communities that are part of the Whittier Regional District will still be part of the regional district. That being said, everything in that agreement can be amended. So there's substantial, obviously everybody wants the capital allocation to be addressed, but there are any number of things that can be changed as a result. And the other piece is that it all has to be done prior to the conclusion of the feasibility study, which is likely to be 2 to 3 years down the road. So there is a clock running here, because MSBA has said you need to have a new or revised amended regional agreement for us to move you from feasibility into the next phase of the project.
Okay. Has the meeting schedule or anything been developed yet for those subcommittees?
For the school building
For
committee?
both, for the school building committee and the regional agreement review committee?
Yeah, I'm not aware of
Yeah,
the
no,
school
not
yet,
yet. I
because they're
think,
so-
the
they just
meetings that
got
we're having
formed.
now is what we're talking about. Because right now, we
Okay.
haven't been operating as kind of a public body meeting
Right.
situation. And the last meeting, we were talking about, all right, that's going to have to start
Yeah.
to transition.
And
So I
the-
think that's what tomorrow's
They'll
going to be
both be
about.
set up as public bodies that have a chair and all that, and have to
Yep.
post their meetings and
The
stuff like that.
school building committee will absolutely be so. Actually, it's not typical, but for some reason, the school committee decided to vote the chair and the vice chair. Actually, we have co-chairs of the school building committee. That's usually a decision that's made by the school building committee itself. But that being the case, that will absolutely be subject to, open meetings posted. The regional amendment committee, we were told by Mars that would be a subcommittee of the actual Whittier School Committee, but there seems to be some various opinions on that.
Okay.
If there were 4 members of the Whittier School Committee that were voting members that were part of that committee, obviously it would be subject to open meeting law and public.
Right.
To have to be a public meeting. At our last meeting, there was conversation about making those 4 school committee members non-voting members or eliminating them entirely, in which case I'd be very confused about what the status of that committee would be with respect to the open meeting law.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any other questions or discussion points? And thanks, Mayor, for additional information.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Next item is overnight field trip approval for New York City.
Well, thank you for having me. And before I just go over the international trip proposal for this year and then into next, I just want to say thank you to the school committee just for your support last week and even before, just as we were going through our accreditation process. Just the support that the school committee provides is just great. And so that definitely means a lot to me, and also just really on behalf of the whole faculty. So I just wanted to say thank you before we launched into this tonight. So before going into the trips that we have proposed, so I do have the demographic data, so we now actually have a much better system for making sure that just as these trips are getting organized and families are signing up, that we're just able to kind of collect this information, and it gives us something to kind of review each year. And so from last year's school trips that we had that went away, we had 115 total students that participated, that is different students. And then of those, 12 students had received financial assistance, so approximately 10%. And then being able to kind of just go deeper with that information just in regards to other demographics such as high needs population, but then low income, students with disabilities, and some not full ELLs, but some students who had been FLEP. So we had 23.4% for high needs in total, and then with low income students participating, 7.8%, students with a disability, 15.6%, and then we had 2 students who had FLEPT.
Can you explain what FLEP means?
So that's formally language English proficient. So they had come in as English language learners, and they had met a certain level of proficiency. But we are still responsible as a school and a district for tracking their progress. And then also I do want to highlight just the various funding sources that we also do now have for students as they require or seek assistance. And I really do want to, I know she's not here tonight, but I do want to do a shout out for Aileen McConey, just with the work that she's done through the Global Citizenships Program. That's really provided us a great structure for people providing donations, plus now when parents and guardians fill out the initial interest request, and for the initial parts of the trips, they can also pay up a little bit if they would like to make a donation to help students that would need financial assistance. So again, that's really just, a lot of this has come from the collaboration that we've had with you, and our teachers who have been a part of these programs have definitely been responsive for that, so which has been great. So that was our demographic information for last school year. And then that does lead us into the trips that I'm seeking permission for coming up. And so the first trip, it would be a STEM-focused trip to Ireland that would be run through Miss Cochran. She had ran a food trip this past summer that went to Italy, which was pretty well received by the students who participated. And she was looking to have this go at the very end of this school year, so the beginning of the summer, with an approximate cost of $4,889, and just some highlights that I have here on the table, where the students would go and learn about sustainable agriculture, and then they would actually get to work on different farms, from cattle farms, produce, and dairy farms. The second trip, which would be run through Aileen McConey and Mr. Aaron Smith, would be Costa Rica, which has a conservation focus as well as a service focus. The approximate cost of that trip is $4,400. Students will be pretty much interacting with the local community, but with a lot of focus on the different national parks that they have in Costa Rica, where they will also be able to learn from environmental scientists and researchers who work in those parks. Our third international trip, which would be for April 2027, would be run through Mary Rakoski, and that would be with an art focus, and that would be to the Athens and the Islands. That trip comes close to $5,000. And again, it has the visual and performing arts theme, so where they would be touring the architecture and the art of ancient Athens, but then also exploring the Turkish, Roman, and Greek influences of the islands as well. And so that has been one thing that Ms. McConey has been working with any teacher who's looking to organize a trip, is really making sure that there is, a stronger academic focus that comes with it as well. And so hopefully that's what you can see here from these proposals. And then the last trip, which is the annual overnight trip to New York City, that is run through our arts program, and that's organized by Mary Rakoski. Right now, that date that I have there is a tentative date. The approximate cost is $550, but there are other dates they're looking at just where it might actually bring that cost down. And that, again, is just the typical trip that they take to New York City. It also includes our theater arts program as well, so where the students go and explore, they get to participate in a Broadway show, but then they also get to go backstage and work with some of the actors and actresses.
Great, thank you, Principal Wolf. The presentation was for all of the trips, and we can decide if we want to vote individually. I don't know if it matters to you guys if we vote individually or all at once, but seeing as we can ask questions about all of them, people have any questions or comments? I think one thing that I really appreciate the effort you put into the demographic tracking. We've been asking for that, and it's great to see the results. And I know it's not an easy thing to do, just pull those numbers. So we appreciate that you're making that effort. No worries. But I always have suggestions, and one of the suggestions, and I think I brought this up before, we have we have so many great trips. We also have students who participate in a lot of different extracurricular activities, and I don't want to get into this situation where students who are athletes are having to decide not to travel because they have a very rigorous practice schedule or game schedule. I feel like most of these trips, there can be exceptions made for a few missed practices or a few missed games, and so I'm hoping that there's communication going on between the trip planners and the coaches, and particularly the AD, that these should be excused absences as much as possible. I understand you have to make some accommodations for that, but I really hope that our students are being supported to be taking part in these activities as much as they can. And same goes for other activities, not just sports. So that's my one suggestion. But overall, these all look great to me. Any comments or questions from other members?
I mean, chaperone for the Ireland trip, if you're looking. I could do that.
Member Hall?
Back to the homeland.
Quick question about the timing for the Ireland trip where it says June 2026. Is the intention to do that after school ends?
Correct. It would be early summer.
Great.
Can current seniors go on that trip?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Boger?
Yeah, these are amazing, Mr. Wolf. Well done, and thank you very much. I do one question, and then I just had a thought. Do you have the impression that more and more kids are doing it each and every year? I mean, I know we asked for the number last year. I'm just curious.
This number is actually consistent with the year before.
Okay.
So I think we're typically at around somewhere between 100 and 140 students every year.
That's great.
And again, depending on the number of trips. Like this year coming up, we have less trips that are going.
Yeah, it kind of leads into my observation, which is just, you wouldn't have to go back that far to find a $5,000 trip that was $2,500, and I fear going forward with inflation, these trips are just going to get more and more expensive. So maybe at some point we should all think collaboratively about creating a fund or something that could accrue over time to offset some of these trips down the road. That's just a thought.
That's great. That's a great suggestion. Any other comments or discussion points? Yeah.
No, I just want to say thank you again for the demographics, because I worry about those kids who, aren't able, their families aren't able to fully support them. One question, in terms of kids who are, on IEPs that might need additional assistance, is that also being provided?
Yes.
So who's chaperoning?
Yep. So in those situations, we actually work with the special ed department, and if we need to provide an additional teacher to go, then we're able to do that. So that's accommodated for.
And I'm curious how the different, tour groups are vetted. I know EF Tours has done stuff a long time here, and I had one of my own kids participate in that. Some of it wasn't terribly successful. So I'm just curious how that, is there looking at other options along the way? EF Tours seems to cut, my experience was that they cut corners in a way that isn't, like something that should be a direct flight ends up being 2 flights in an overnight stay somewhere. And that was a domestic. No, it wasn't international, but, not terribly far. A 4-hour flight shouldn't require, 2 flights, an overnight stay, and then another flight.
Yeah, I do know that, majority of the trips have been through EF. The trip that is going to South America this year is actually through a different company. I'm trying to remember the name of it, Global, I think it's a local one, actually. So through last year, we actually brought in, there was a couple of vendors who came in and met with our teachers, and so that's how that one, that's Dr. Hobbs, who's running that trip, had made the decision to go with that different company. So hopefully the more that we're doing that, and again, that's actually through the Global Citizenship Program, so Aileen is actually for any teachers that are interested, so they provide an opportunity to explore all the different travel companies that are there, that have at least reached out and made a connection.
Is that the one that's Newburyport based?
I believe so, it is, yes.
I think that's an interesting question, Member Shaw. I think that's probably something we should consider as we continue forward with this, global citizenship track, and just make sure that we are building in some opportunities for analysis and consideration of, are we just waiting for vendors to come to us? Are we just using people we're familiar with? Or are we maybe proactively, not every year maybe, but every few years, taking some time to reflect and say, maybe there's other partners out there that maybe we need to talk to some of our peers. I'm sure that staff does that. I'm just suggesting that maybe this be a conscious effort every few years to just take some time and reflect on the vendors that we're using. I don't even know if that's the right word, but the organizers that we're using, and thinking about, I can't remember because both my kids also participated. Is there like a post-participant survey or any opportunity to get input from any of the...
From the students that go?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think we've done something like that.
I just wonder if that might be, it can be like a few questions, like just giving folk, I know that they always have like a follow-up time and like a celebration of the trip, but maybe even just an opportunity to give some constructive feedback. Yeah.
And then from parents to also have their input too.
Right. I don't want to break something that's working, but it's always good to have build in some self-assessment periodically. So. Any other questions or comments? All right, then are people comfortable just approving these all in one group? All right, then I think the motion would be to approve the overnight field trip to New York City and the international field trips to Ireland, Costa Rica, and Athens and the islands as presented in the packet.
So,
Second. Consistent with policy JJ.
Sounds like The Price is Right or something, like they're talking about all the places you can go and like the
I know, I
showcase.
didn't add the numbers. I should have done that. You sound more like Price Right. Okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? And the vice chair votes aye. Great. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you very
Wolf.
much.
All right, we are now moving on to the review and approval of the NAF naming opportunities list. Do we have a are you guys gonna?
Yeah, we can represent myself and Mr. Callahan.
Okay,
Sure.
Yeah.
great.
So this is the annual list that's presented every school year. for school committee review and approval. The one piece that Ms. O'Donnell wanted us to bring to tonight's vote is a naming of a classroom after a dedicated teacher at the Bresnahan School, and because of the circumstances around this room designation of kind of a surprise, we wanted to keep the name not public at this time, but obviously as we go through the process of naming, this staff member has been vetted, is well known, I think, to not only the school committee, but also the community at large, and we feel this would be a great honor for the family, and just fit within the criteria of naming that the NEF and that we've established. So,
Okay.
I'm not sure if Mr. Callan has anything else to add.
I think
No, I thought that was great.
on the list that is included in the packet, it looks like is it the same list as last year? I didn't get a chance to go and
See
compare.
anything different?
It's pretty the same, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So per our policy, which is referenced in the packet, we invite we are able to basically designate an entity within the community to be in charge of naming rights for specific portions of district facilities. And as we've, over the years, we've asked for this list of naming opportunities to be submitted to us by the NEF so that we can review it annually. And it doesn't guarantee that rooms will be named or that certain dollar amounts will be designated for the naming rights. That is a separate discussion, but it does allow the NEF to provide this list of naming opportunities to representatives who may be interested in that process. So it sort of separates out the actual designation, or the list of names from the actual designation process. Those are two separate processes, but we do review these annually, and so at least we're aware of what's being promised or given considered. So if there are no additions, I don't know that we need to spend a lot of time on this unless anyone has specific concerns about any of the existing rooms that are named. I know in the past we've asked about some of the reasons behind them. I believe on the list the items in gray are ones that have been named previously or are currently named. And I would say that doesn't necessarily mean the NEF was the entity that was responsible for the naming, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay. Any questions about the list of items? We are not approving the cost, we're just approving the list of rooms that are eligible for potential naming. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah,
One
Member
is
Hall?
on the high school list, under media, there's something called video production studio that says Thomas Pecorelli. How does that relate to the new
That's been there for a while.
space?
That's been there for a while. The Cindy Johnson space is completely different.
Right.
I assume that's the one listed above that's grayed out. It just doesn't say Cindy Johnson yet, maybe because it hasn't been dedicated.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this other one though, is that an existing space?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's the one down in the basement.
I don't know where it is in there, but I think that was actually prior to NEF that was done. Tom Pecorelli died on 9/11. He was on flight 11.
Yeah. I was just trying to get some clarity on what's happening there because we
Yeah,
have
so
the
you
new
were concerned
space.
that it was the same space, but it sounds like it's
It's a
separate.
different
But we
space,
can maybe
correct.
get, if you
Sure.
want, we can get
Next meeting.
clarification at the next meeting.
Just want to make sure, I think this came up when we talked about this last year. What happens if a space no longer
Goes
exists
away.
and,
Yeah.
a family has dedicated a plaque, and how is that managed? So I guess that's my question, is
Mm-hmm.
if that's no longer a video production studio, what happens to that plaque?
I think it remains. It's similar to what used to be the Mac Lab. Still has Francis
Okay.
Ash's name on there. Yeah, they're not guaranteed that it's perpetually going to be that
That makes sense.
use.
Yeah.
But we have NEF has a meeting. When's that meeting?
Does anyone know how the old video production space will be utilized? Is that something that's been determined, or?
I can find out.
Okay.
But the name, the name, Thomas's name is still gonna be, you know what I mean, it's still gonna be dedicated. So there's multiple spaces with the video lab. It's not just one classroom. So it's all that downstairs space.
Would remain, the space would remain as
Correct.
well as the plaque.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll get more details for our next.
Great, yeah, if you and Mr. Callahan could just maybe explain to us what happens. And, you know, I think we've asked Ms. O'Donnell about this before, but I think there's an understanding that, you know, when people choose to donate to designate a room, they understand that that room isn't necessarily going to be that way forever, and that's communicated to them. But, you know, we can get clarification.
The next meeting's on the 15th. Superintendent will have to ask that at the meeting because I will not be in town. But if we just
We can do a follow-up.
follow up
handle
and just sort out if there's a change
Sure.
on the list.
Okay, great.
You're capable.
I'll try to step in your
Yeah.
shoes while you're.
I
Are-
am a 9.5.
Really?
Is anyone
I'm
is
short.
anyone concerned about voting on this tonight with that clarification pending? Okay.
No, I would suggest that we go as long as possible without pinning that down, because at the university level, this is a big discussion with donors. And to your point, is it in perpetuity? It's gotten very contractual.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes, you know, the chapel is named one thing, and then the foyer is named the old name, and it's built upon built.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's become interesting. So,
I think for the NEF's case, this is more of a, wouldn't it be nice
wouldn't it be nice?
if we did this for these people and nobody expect their name's going to be on there for 200 years?
Yeah, I think it's also important to highlight the distinction here, which is the NEF is raising money on behalf of to fund certain projects in the schools, but they are completely separate in terms of the money that they raise, in that we don't have any obligation to these individuals other than, you know, allowing them to name a room, but just because they're paying or donating to the NEF doesn't mean that we have any obligation in changing that use of that room, doing other things to the building is our jurisdiction. Just because somebody donates and we recognize them doesn't mean they get special privileges about the future use of that room. So I think we need to be clear about that.
So we're voting on the surprise one?
So,
right now? That's what we're
no, the first vote
vote on these
is,
lists.
the first vote is to just approve the list of naming opportunities per policy, sorry, what's in my notes? Policy FF, which is related to to this list. We're reviewing it annually and approving.
So moved.
Okay. Ooh, I didn't even finish
I don't think that
my
was
sentence.
it, but that's okay.
All right, who, second?
Second, yeah.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And the vice chair votes aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, then the next item on the agenda is what the superintendent alluded to, which is the permission for the NEF to name a room, a specific room in honor of a faculty member. And the only reason we're not naming that faculty member tonight is that there is a desire for this to be a surprise. However, we have all been provided the description of why this individual should be deserving of this. And so I would say that as you review it and when you're ready to make the motion, the considerations are that, this individual represents the general purpose of why we name, that they represent, that they're a person deserving of this recognition for the, in support of what the schools represent, that we're not trying to designate somebody for personal favoritism or political pressure or any kind of reason. This is a person that we all think represents the spirit of schools and students in particular. So, anyone wishing to make a motion? I guess the motion would be,
You're just going to make the motion, aren't you?
well, somebody can go ahead and do it. I just always, I'll wait. Go
So
ahead and make the motion. No, actually make the motion.
I move to approve
Thank you.
the NEF request for a room dedication that is super secret. That's the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll just add that upon reviewing the description provided by the NAF, this individual is very representative of what our school district is all about and is very much in the spirit of Newburyport schools and deserving of this
I'll
recognition.
second that.
I'll third that.
And this person's name will be released. It's not going to stay super secret forever. So, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Any opposed? All right, passed. All right, the next item is the MASC Annual Conference Delegate. So each year, the MASC has an annual conference, which a few of us have attended, and we typically will designate a delegate to represent us at the delegate convention, which is like the first, typically the first evening of the convention. I guess it's convention. Yeah.
Last year it was actually
Oh,
Friday.
it was Friday, that's right.
Worked much better.
Yeah, that's true.
For some of us.
I
So
typically did not
it would be
check.
nice to know, probably, in terms of people's schedules,
Yep.
if they stuck with Friday.
I had looked this up.
Definitely easier than Wednesday.
November 12th to the 14th.
Yeah. Does it say where in the?
I don't know. I'm trying to get it.
Thank you. Mr. Broger has not attended the delegate. Member Hall, any comments on last year's?
I thought it was really interesting. I enjoyed being part of it. It's I don't know how many they have to approve this year, the resolutions. We had quite a few last year, and some of them had rolled over from the previous year. And so they had a good system. I remember hearing from you, Madam Vice Chair, the year before I think was a bit of a mess, and nothing really got approved, and so they worked hard. They worked hard on their process, and at least in my view, as my first time being there, it was pretty efficient, and I think we were able to get through all of them. A couple of them were amended, which was just interesting to see the process, and it felt productive, which I believe it did not the year before. So
It was a mess.
yeah, that's hope for this year.
Yeah.
It is Friday.
Yeah, so it's Friday the 14th at 3:15 p.m. and the conference is held at the Emerald Resort in Hyannis.
Tough ride home.
It's a long haul. Yeah. However, yeah, I have also been a delegate. The resolutions that we pass or that we vote on are non-binding, but they are a mechanism for which MASC as a body can show their unity around specific issues that they then use to legislate or advocate for at the legislative level. They also have reintroduced or have introduced something where they go back to prior resolutions that are due to expire to make sure that we want to let those expire, and so there's also a mechanism for that. But generally, it's a professionally run process, and interesting to hear from. There are definitely school districts that have a lot of amendments and take this very seriously. I think I don't know if we've ever had put forward a resolution. Do you remember ever sponsoring one or having an
Not my
amendment?
time here, no.
Yeah. But we've typically had representation. So, is anyone interested in being a delegate this year?
If nobody wants to go, I'll go. But
Wow! In the heart of the campaign season, I'm impressed.
well, no, it'd be over at that point.
No, that's
I might
true.
want to go.
You might want to go.
I'm actually going away right before that, so I probably should ask my wife that.
Yeah.
before.
All right. Well, I also would be willing to be a delegate this year if no one else is interested. Is anyone else? Mr. Berger, are you planning to go to the conference
Yes,
potentially?
but which day is that?
It's Friday.
It's a Friday.
Friday at 3:15.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a push. So.
Yeah.
I think the mayor would be an excellent delegate.
Now, to be fair, I used to go to that every year because I used to work it before I did
Yes, you're familiar
this
with this
job.
routing.
So,
Very comfortable.
Well, we typically have we vote to have an official voting delegate and then an alternate. So, if I would be okay with being the official voting delegate if you
I'll
would
be
be
the
willing to be
alternate,
an alternate. So that is the slate, and then Mr. Boger will be the second backup potential alternate. We don't have to vote. We don't have to vote on that. Okay, so there we go. There's our slate. So, somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you for stepping up.
You're welcome.
Again.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
I
opposed?
presume a lot of people stay over.
Oh, it's a
Typically.
it's a 3-day conference. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
Like 4 even.
yeah. I think it
Wednesday
could,
through
sometimes you can
Saturday?
go.
Especially that week with Veterans Day being Tuesday. I mean, it
Yes.
takes up the whole week.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. Any opposed? All right, approved. Thank you, everybody. And I think Ms. Yal, we can submit this online. Do you want to do that, or okay? Thank you. All right. Next item is superintendent's evaluation. I'll turn that over to the mayor.
So first, I guess I'll ask, did everyone get a chance to kind of look at it? Okay, great. So what I sent out, it's not everybody's. I think we are going to make those available online. So I'll make sure that'll be like maybe one big PDF that I can send, and then you can have Lisa post it if she'll do that for us. So what I tried to do is just kind of capture everybody's comments, summarize them, and even with the ratings on each one, I kind of did an average, right? I will say overall, looking at this, first I want to thank everybody. It's funny, everyone kind of does their own thing when it comes to these, right? So it was interesting to see how what everyone submitted. I think everyone was really thoughtful in their responses, and I will say just overwhelmingly positive about the direction of the school district and the leadership of our superintendent. I don't know if you want to walk through like each category, or I'm certainly not going to read it to you, but
Yeah, that's okay, but I think it would be helpful for the benefit of those watching if we could, like maybe go through each
Sure.
category, and then if others want to talk about, highlight anything in particular.
So I'll just say first, it's broken down into sections, right? So first, we're talking about district improvement goals and our progress towards them. Then it breaks down into the standards, indicators for effective leadership, and that talks about instructional leadership, management operations, family and community engagement, and professional culture. And like I said, all very positive going through. I think when you talk about assessing the performance on standards, especially towards our district goals, again, the superintendent scored very well. Again, there was really no needs improvement throughout, and the ones that were scattered throughout this assessment was usually offset by an exemplary, so it bumped it up to a proficient. Yes, and I will say, just to point out, so the overall average, though, he scored highest in the standard 2 and 3, 2 being management and operations. I think the general sentiment there was just a really strong job operating our buildings, but also in a tight budget year, negotiating 3 contracts, and then also coming forward with a budget that continue to push the district forward even in a challenging economic year. And then the other standard that he scored very high in, and no surprise, is family and community engagement. I don't know if you'll find a harder working superintendent in the Commonwealth. Superintendent Gallagher is so free with his time. He's constantly at events each and every night, even outside of the school, with partnering with the Human Rights Commission and NEF and others. So I don't know, that was all very good to see. Professional culture only got a proficient, but we can work on that too.
Strange there's no acrobatics in the evaluation.
So there was limber, he scored high, I guess. I don't know if anyone has any questions about what they saw in there, or
Yeah.
want to comment on their own
No, I can say generally, it wasn't surprising to me how you scored from all of us. I think we've hopefully been communicating with you where we see opportunities for improvement and where we feel that you excel. I would say, as I've said before, when I do these, I'm a really tough grader, so so someone to get an E is like, you shouldn't even be working here. So, basically you should be, I don't know, university president or something. But so I tend to be more of the, if you're doing a good job and you're meeting our expectations and vice versa, that is a met. And that's not to say that I don't occasionally feel that there's some exceeding, but I think significant progress is a good one, and I don't think there were any, in terms of providing constructive feedback to you and the rest of the staff about things that we hopefully have communicated already, meaning where there's opportunities for improvement. And I think hopefully there weren't any surprises for you in reviewing these that we've communicated, and particularly on student achievement. I think we really are doing a great job trying to bring everybody up, but we are facing a lot of challenges around, as so many school districts are, around student achievement and making sure that we're closing some achievement gaps based on all the challenges that these students have faced over the past few years. And I think that's just something that if you were meeting or exceeding in that category, I think it would be very surprising, because that's just it's such a challenge right now. And yeah, so I agree with the mayor's comments. I think one of the strengths for you, from my perspective, and I think is reflected in the comments, is that community relationship building and really being the face of the school in the community, building those partnerships, which is so important. And so I think, if anything, refocusing a little bit on the internal operations of the school as well is where you have to strike that balance. So, other comments from others?
No, I would just say I appreciate the mayor pulling it all together, and I think he did an excellent job of kind of pulling articulated pieces from all the members. So that's well appreciated. And there's a lot in here to be really excited about. I do think, as Vice Chair mentioned, in terms of articulating, I was glad he did include a comment that I made that is. Some of this is collaborative, meaning I think at times we can be clearer in this forum. I think we're pretty clear in other forums that are more discreet, but I think at times, if there are goals, these are opportunities to talk about them. It's quite clear we have a superb superintendent, so we might as well be ambitious.
That's right. I know, don't be too good, because we might ask a lot of you. And I want to say, for those watching from, who interact with the superintendent on a lot of different levels, I think there's opportunities within this evaluation for improvement, and we recognize that. I think the superintendent recognizes that, and I think that our positive feedback is about. Because we see opportunities to continue to collaborate and move the district forward. I feel like, to me, every year with the superintendent has been a year of growth and learning, and that's one of the things I appreciate the most about you, is that you are receptive to feedback, and you do improve on things when we ask you to. And I think that, to me, is a sign of a good leader. That is not somebody who's tunnel visioned and knows what their strengths are and doesn't try to improve on the things that aren't necessarily their strengths. And I think we all can take lessons from that. But to me, that's to the broader school population who might be tuning into this, not everything is perfect, but we know that there's always opportunities to try to improve. And I think that's what the relationship we have tried to establish. And to Mr. Boger's point, ongoing communication, but also let's hold ourselves to a standard and continue to push for that. Yeah, Member Higgins?
I just have one small comment about the process, but first, Superintendent, thank you so much for all of your hard work. I think it's an excellent evaluation, and we're really excited about the direction of the district. Just one comment about the process is, when we had to go through, and you'll see even for those who might be watching this later, you'll see that we had to make an overall evaluation assessment of the district goals. And being a sitting member of the school committee, you would think I would know the goals right off the top of my head, and I didn't. I had to go find them and even ask some people. It's like, what were the exact goals, right? Because we have goals everywhere. The school has goals, the district has goals, the superintendent has goals for his evaluation. And so I just had to go searching for like exactly what goals are we talking about here, and are they met or not met? And just, I don't know if there's an opportunity to amend this at all at this point, but just for anyone who's reading the document,
Like put them in there.
put them in there,
That's fine.
right? Like if you're reading the document at home and you're saying, oh, they evaluated that he met or exceeded the goals, like I wonder what the goals were for that school year. I think it would be nice if, either the mayor, if you're going to lead this process again, or even the superintendent, if you just included that on the blank template, like these were the goals for the year, and then they just always exist on it.
Yep, that's a good idea.
I think that's an excellent point, Member Higgins, and I think transitioning from the strategic plan to these district improvement goals that that you just presented on last meeting, and making sure those are front of mind. Yeah, would be great. Other comments?
I'll just say I typically am a tough grader too when it comes to this, and typically the area that I focus a lot on is student achievement. So it was interesting reading through them, and like I said, this was the one category that I think was proficient all the way through. But what I liked this year is that I felt like as a school district, as a school committee, and then going through what we went through last fall, I think we were really honest about like where we're kind of struggling right now or where we could need improvement. And so I thought, apart from other years, I thought we really were dialed in this year about like looking at the data. This is where we need to improve. What's that look like? So there was a real just recognition publicly about where we can do better. So I thought that was great.
I guess I want to, on the family and community engagement, having been sort of the longest standing member on the Human Rights Committee, I've seen a lot of superintendents come and go, and we might get someone who'd show up for one meeting and then, we wouldn't see them again. And there is a very important process if there's ever a hate incident or alleged hate crime, in terms of how the school works with not only the Human Rights Commission, but with the police department is necessary and whatnot. And that hasn't always gone so well in the past in terms of the interaction with the school. So I feel like Sean has, he comes to the meetings, he's very involved, he brings, when there's stuff that's going to be impacting the district as a whole, his involvement with the EL student families, the newcomers we had 2 years ago. And when I was working as school liaison, I felt like there was so much involvement and really appreciated it. I know one mom told me, like, well, who's that? And I go, that's the boss. So there was this whole, I don't know, I just have that view, and you're like a bad penny, you show up all over town, like you're judging the gingerbread contest. No, it's a good thing to be a bad penny. The gingerbread contest, you're very committed to coming to the pride events. All of those things that really, personally for me, having had kids go through the district and seeing what they kind of missed out on as a result. So anyway, I'm rambling, so I will close.
That's a great comment. Yeah, Member Hall?
Yeah, look at you. That's all. I guess this is sort of evaluation adjacent, but I really appreciated when we had a retreat over the summer, you talking about your desire to spend more time getting back into the classrooms and getting involved in PD. And so I guess I'm just excited for you. When I was looking at this and reflecting on all the challenges last year with, losing our business manager early in the year, having the 3 union contracts to negotiate, and tight budget year, uncertainty on the federal level. There was so much that, you could have gotten bogged down, but you plowed your way through it, and I know that, your heart is in the classroom, and I'm just excited for you, just thinking about how this, professional culture piece, you're gonna be able to really get back to that. So just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'll just, first of all, just want to thank the committee for all your support. And as you know, I mean, I think I'm probably the hardest critic of myself. And and I appreciate your feedback on different areas of growth or different areas of focus. I have an incredible team that we've assembled, that we're all, working together. But I mean, my philosophy ever since, as a teacher and administrator is, especially today, and as a parent, it really does, take a village to have a successful, school district. And I think part of going out into the community is an essential part of my philosophy, because I have the opportunity to touch base with people outside of the school system, to hear the concerns that are going on in the community. I think it's also really important to work with parents, and caregivers on a daily basis. And I think you need to be approachable and all of those things to have a successful school district. So I think this work that you're highlighting, and I appreciate, the positive evaluation of me, but there's a lot of people involved in this. I'm just really the person that is kind of, directing everybody, and I think everyone has, input on a successful district. And I'm going to continue to, that's how I've always been with my leadership. It's a collaborative leadership approach, and I'm going to continue to do that while I'm here. And I also want to appreciate, this school committee. As the mayor said, I think we work together. When the going is good, I think we all support one another. And when we have some challenges, the areas to focus, I don't think we shy away from that either. And I think we work together and address those issues. I think the other piece too, when we're looking at the curriculum instruction assessment, and there's a lot of talk, remember, about that committee, working with the school committee and having that teacher and learning committee, I think has also been a big asset for us. The parent, my superintendent advisory committee has also been a great committee where we're bouncing ideas off of not only the parents, but we also have community members and some of the challenges that we face as a school district. So I really appreciate the effort that has gone into this. I think it's probably one of the most thorough, Mayor Reardon, you'll credit yourself, evaluations that I've seen. So I appreciate that.
See, I didn't think it was thorough enough.
I think this is just the executive summary, but I know there's a lot of time that was put into this. So no, I can't say enough, and for this community, going into my 8th year, I'm honored to be part of it, to be honest, and just thank you all very much.
I said this the other day at an event. I can't remember which one I was at, but the average kind of lifespan of a superintendent in district now, I think, is still 3.5 years. So even the fact that we've had you here for 8 says a lot about you. A little bit about us, but but that's a good thing. You don't see that continuity a lot, and it's a lot when you go through changes like that. Like I said, I think the night I got put on that special election, a little over 8 years ago, Superintendent Vaccaro at the time announced that night that she was going to retire in January. So for me, it was great, and Brian came on right after that too, but we got to come on right away and go through that process. And like I said, having that continuity is why we're so successful here. So
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know, again, even staff who maybe don't agree with you are probably appreciative that they at least have a consistent person to work with. I know that can be a real struggle for staff, and I know people would agree with you sometimes and support you sometimes, and I think that's just the nature of being a leader, but.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, exactly. Samir can relate to. But I think that continuity is really helpful for moving forward, like I said. Thank you, Mayor. All right, so our next item, I think, is the superintendent report. Am I right?
Subcommittee.
Oh, subcommittee, sorry, thank you. Didn't have my agenda in front of me. FinCom?
We've not met. We next meet on the 23rd at 8:30 in the central office.
Okay. Although it's not under your purview, I know that this, it sort of is, the joint meeting.
Oh, right.
So the joint meeting, which we have every year, which I think is the mayor's meeting, right? Is that
Yes.
correct? Has been scheduled for the 17th of November?
18th.
18th. And we would normally have a school committee meeting that week, and so we were suggesting that we do away with that school committee meeting. We also have a conflict with the city council meeting anyway. So I was going to throw that out for discussion. I thought now would be a better time than any.
I went back and looked, and we did do, previous years we had both meetings in the week, but it comes as a shock to nobody that I would rather not have the two in a row. And if we have a problem with the conflict with the city council anyway,
Yeah. We had, what we
are we
had
going to be
said.
forced to move it to another
We were gonna, yeah, so I looked back in my correspondence with the council president, and we had we knew there were gonna be these conflicts for these couple meetings. I think there was another one in October, yeah. And they moved their meeting in October.
tomorrow.
Yeah, they moved their meeting for us. It was very nice of them. And so we said we would move the next conflict, because otherwise we've been able to adjust to avoid these conflicts. I don't know that we need to decide tonight, but I just thought we'd throw it out to see if anybody had any objections to potentially, like superintendent, I think if we had issues, any items that needed to be resolved, we could probably add a meeting to before or after the joint meeting anyway, if we needed to.
Yeah. If we had to do like a warrant or something, we could do that real quick on a.
Right. We could have a short business meeting that night
Yep.
if we needed to. All right, so maybe we'll bring this back to the next meeting for an official vote, Ms. Yell, but that's just, it sounds like in general, people are okay with just canceling that meeting.
I like the idea that you're thinking about that now, because then you can plan accordingly. You've got two more meetings before then.
Right.
And you'll probably be able to see if you're keeping pace with the agenda items that you want to cover. The only thing that comes to mind is I know that we do get into, MCAS is a big one, school improvement plans is a big one, so we want to make sure,
We have
that
time.
we can cover those important topics
Agreed.
in a timely manner. That would be my only thing, but if you can plan it, then yes.
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had some items tonight that we thought were not going to be on, so hopefully that helps with next items.
I will just say on that Ethan Manning and Amy Sorrow and I met today to talk about what that meeting will look like, and so I know it's going to be a struggle for Ethan to figure out the other side of it, but we'll do all right. Now you get to close this off, so it's going to be great. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Policy Subcommittee, Ms. Shaw.
So we met last week. We went over the tech policies, and we're gonna fine tune them. Probably not gonna meet again until January, because we've gone through enough of the policies and updated, so we're just gonna fine tune them, present them to the school committee after that.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully have those for the school committee to consider at our next meeting. Great, thank you. Communicate ComCom.
Yeah, so we haven't met since our last meeting, and not planning a meeting for October, so sometime in November will be the next time we'll meet.
Okay, I think last time you mentioned when we're going to have, when we were proposing to have.
Yes,
Okay.
November 3rd.
Okay.
So first meeting in November, we were talking about, we were thinking of 6, having it at 6, and then bumping the start of the meeting to 7, that's what I recall.
Okay. So
Yeah.
So on November 3rd, we'll have the listening session related to the budget, similar to what we did last year.
Exactly, and we will be in this
We'll
space,
be in here.
which is nice.
Okay.
So just like before, we can set up in there, will not be recorded, and then we'll come over here, it'll be all set up to go for the meeting at 7, if that
Okay.
seems reasonable.
Yeah, I think what made last year's successful was that we did get the word out. So we have a
Yes,
month to get the word out.
absolutely.
So maybe this can be something that we can include in the newsletter. Before next meeting. For next week's. Sorry, the next meeting in October, we could also include a little blurb about the listening session.
Just preview that,
Yeah.
and something should come out from the district as well.
And then
Right.
some district.
Yeah.
And I know you also notified your advisory committee
Advisory committee,
members,
yeah.
and if there's anybody
School
else.
councils,
School
I think we had them
councils.
invited,
Yep.
especially.
And we can, I think I don't remember, but we could always invite city councilors if they want to come and listen to candidates.
I won't be here.
Okay.
Well, it's the night before the election.
Yeah, I know, it is a challenging night. But, okay, great. Teaching and Learning Subcommittee.
We have our first meeting on October 15th, so we'll meet next week. And happy to report we have a full year-long agenda and date set.
Wow,
Very nice. Thank you.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. All right, superintendent's report.
All right. Some of the topics were already discussed a little bit earlier. Just a recent visit for NEASC. It was a 3-day visit. I just want to credit Mr. Wolf and his team. The NEASC team was very appreciative of how organized the visit was, how easily accessible the data they were looking for. So it was a very successful visit. They kind of gave an overview of a lot of positives that came out of there in those 6 focus areas. And then they're going to write a full report in the next couple months, and then that we'll share with the school committee. But once again, just want to credit Mr. Wolf, his team, and the faculty for a wonderful visit. And then also for the past 2 years of them working on those 6 areas that we feel that the NEAS visiting team really saw a lot of growth and improvement in those areas. So we're excited about that report. The Bresnahan, I've been to the Bresnahan and the Mullen open houses the past couple of weeks. Great turnout for parents and caregivers at both venues. This week will be the Knock. Wednesday night, their open house. So I'm looking forward to welcoming people back. It's a lot of fun, a lot of enthusiasm at those. Jumping ahead here to the Bresnahan caregivers conversation. So that's the coffee hour that the PTO has been sponsoring at the Bresnahan. So we had around 12 parents that came out and had the opportunity to meet with the adjustment counselors and talk about transitions. It was a great discussion, and I always like, chiming in as a parent back in the kindergarten days and talking to some of the younger parents that, transition is always, every stage, it's always going to be challenging, and even when they go on to college, which is, is always that transition. So, but it was great to talk to some of the younger parents and caregivers there. North Shore Superintendent's Roundtable, as Ms. Hall was talking about, there's still a lot of uncertainty coming out of the Washington, and this is our monthly meeting, the area superintendents, 24 on the North Shore that come to, we meet. We had Attorney Kelly Gonzalez kind of really talk about some of the recent events and freedom of speech discussions, and I guess the legal take on some of that. She also addressed some of the changes and challenges with school funding, and so that's just one resource that we all have that assists the superintendents kind of strategize on some of these challenges. So that was very informative, and then obviously we have different subcommittees that report out. As I've been talking about for a few years now, the Special Education Working Group That's the area superintendent's looking to resource share. And so we're focusing on 3 areas right now: a franchise model, regional transportation, and a PRS working group. So that's really just taking a look at the special education umbrella that's impacting a lot of districts, and how can we, as within our own districts, kind of cost share some of these challenges that we have. So I think it's a great working group to proactively find answers for us. We had a great Jane Politis ribbon cutting ceremony, you know, and it was a very emotional ceremony, you know, with the family there, and just how awesome is that, where, you know, Stephen Politis, a former teacher, room dedication was last year, and now Jane, his wife, right across from one another. And Mayor Reardon gave a very touching speech of his former teacher, and how she meant a lot to him. So I'm not sure if you wanted to say a couple words, but it was a pretty powerful.
Yeah, no, I think you said it all. I mean, she was just a wonderful woman. I know I've spoken about her here before, but you know, and I loved her husband too. I didn't have her husband for a teacher, but I obviously knew him well as well. But she was just amazing. And in fact, you know, what I mentioned there, my parents had Jane Politis as a teacher as well. And Jane had 2 kids. Yanni was there, and he's been involved in all this. He lives in Rowley. His sister Kathy was in my class, and I was really good friends with her. She lives in Greece. But just a wonderful family. It was just it was nice to hear direct from Yanni. That was the emotional piece, just to hear their story and how they ended up in Newburyport. And you know, they really, just real quick, they were on their way. They met. She went to Stanford. They met out in California, and then decided to move to Greece. And so they got married. They were going cross country, and Mr. Politis' brother lived in the area, so they stopped here and checked out Newburyport. And it just so happened they were looking for 2 teachers then. And so they kind of said, well, you know, we can go to Greece whenever. Why don't we work here for a year, and then we'll move on to Greece. And then 34 years later, they retired from Newburyport Public Schools. So it was just a really cool story. And like I said, just a wonderful teacher. She was a history teacher. She was an honors history teacher. She taught leadership. You know, again, I was just lucky enough to be there, and you know, I certainly wouldn't be here today without her. Just a great family.
Awesome. And then last week, just finishing off the week at Northern Essex Community College. So the president, Lane Glenn, invited superintendents and principals to a breakfast on the 26th. And then they just kind of went through all of the different opportunities that they're offering to districts. And, you know, one of them, it wasn't just limited to early college, it was an overview of a lot of different programs that they have. So we were really excited. We may take advantage of some of those programs because they're very cost effective. So it's just good partnership to have to expand some of the things that we're doing. And then just a couple other pieces, the German exchange that the student reps talked about. So they'll be in district on the 8th. And they'll be here until the 23rd, and there's 20 students and 2 teachers from Germany. And then, as we were talking about in the superintendent's evaluation, but obviously the MCAS results came out last week. Our team's going through them and developing really an assessment, comprehensive report that will include the MCAS scores, but also different assessments, and that's the benefit of the teacher and learning committee to assist with that presentation. But yeah, so that's pretty much the last week or so, and we've been busy, but a lot of good things happening.
Yeah, and thank you for that note about the assessments. I know there's been a lot of press. Apparently the Globe is just fixated on education reporting right now. I don't know. They don't have anything else to report on, but you know.
Well, and these are some of the conversations with when I go back to the North Shore Superintendent's Roundtable. These are the conversations that we're having as a district, all districts on the North Shore, and taking a look at the assessments in MCAS, and then also incorporating them with other
assessments. And I think that's important to keep remembering. We have many assessments that we look at them as a whole, so we understand the whole student and all the trends that are impacting the whole student. So, thank you. Yeah, lots of good updates. Any questions for the superintendent? Yeah, Mr. Callahan.
Do you know if the German club, or however you phrase it, was able to find host families? I know they were having issues. We had received an email that they were looking
the
for
students
the
that
exchange kids coming.
The ones coming?
Yeah.
I believe they all
Got placed.
yeah. They're not going to be.
Their wolf asked us if we would host again, and we just can't do it this year because of any number of things. I felt really bad for him. He's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "I'm sorry." We had a good time doing it. I mean, the kids were great, but they were older, right? So it was my son's class, and he could drive.
Yeah.
And we have a Honda Pilot, so he was like the taxi driver for all these Germans who wanted to go to Walmart over and over and over again and buy candy. It's crazy. Every night.
Candy story. How many times have we
We'll
heard
make
that
you
story?
the ambassador next year. You can help coordinate it.
All right, any other questions? Yeah, Mr.
Just a quick,
Boger.
Ms. Hall mentioned it, but as you mentioned MCAS, and we're planning, this is really maybe for the vice chair and the superintendent, but there was some discussion in the retreat about maybe splitting up those two subjects, meaning the school improvement plan and the MCAS, to different meetings.
Is this part of your discussion at the Teaching and Learning Committee in terms of when we get the calendar?
Not when.
Oh.
I think it's your decision on when that goes to the full committee. We are getting an in-depth look at the MCAS scores in November at the Teaching and Learning Subcommittee. I don't know if you want that to be in-depth and then an overview for the whole, or if you want to start with the whole at the beginning of November and then we'll get the in-depth at your discretion.
Okay. So I'll talk to the superintendent about how best, but thank you for that reminder. I think, what was off the top of your head, what was your planned approach for school improvement plans? Were you going to present those separately, or were you going to kind of roll those into the?
I think we were planning on presenting those separately.
Yeah, and then leading into the assessment. Is that what you were
Correct.
referring to,
Yeah.
Mr. Boger? Okay.
Probably do the assessments first and then the school improvement plan so you can see how the goals were formed
Okay.
on the data that we collected.
Great. Okay.
I think that was some of the feedback to even break it up, I think, too, for elementary. Instead of having all 4 schools here all at once, maybe you break it up elementary first and then grades 6 to 12.
So maybe at the next meeting we can kind of map out what
Sure.
we're planning on those in terms of those presentations. I'll put that. I'm keeping a track of some follow-up items too. So. All right. Any other questions for the superintendent? I think we're down to new business. Any new business items? Yeah, Mr.
It's
Callahan.
not quite new business. I just want to say I got to do along with the mayor and the superintendent. Did anybody else go do the elected official presentations on the last 2 Friday afternoons for 8th graders? Anybody else there?
Doing one coming up.
Oh, for 8th
Right.
graders?
Yeah,
No.
so it was super cool.
I wasn't invited.
It was all of us were invited.
I didn't see anything.
Nope.
Actually, I don't know who was invited that. That's really weird.
It is weird. Yeah, it's
Or maybe it was
the
people who
teachers
were-
do it. They don't send out a blank thing to everybody. I don't know how they figure out how to do it, but
There were a bunch of city councilors around. It was great. So it was 8th grade. I don't know what class because we were in different class. I was in the science room, so I'm not
yeah,
sure.
they
which
rotate
class.
through. They
Yeah,
can sign
Jen
up for like
Frost
6
came,
different
yeah.
people that are speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was super fun because we're really engaged, which always surprises me in a good way. Like I'm picturing like me in 8th grade, like that scene in Ferris Bueller where no one's answering any
So
questions.
that was me this past week.
Yeah.
And then the week before, I had a million questions. It was
Yeah.
Is
awesome.
this part
The
of
next
the
week-
I am we thing?
Yes.
It is.
Oh,
That's
okay.
a very
Yeah.
introductory
Yeah,
thing.
so I also had that same experience where one class is very talkative and the other one was like,
Guys, what do you got?
Yeah.
what do you think of sidewalks?
Yeah, it was good. It was good fun. And the thing Member Hall's talking about is we are both going to be in the civics candidate forum for people running for city council and school committee.
And
I'm on the 27th. You're on the 17th. There are 2 weeks.
I think a bunch of us would participate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a
that's
ton
a
of people
different
do.
thing. That
I know that's an entirely different thing, but that's coming up. So I think
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up.
people should go to that. I don't know if it's open
wasn't
to
invited.
parents.
You did get an email from Mr.
Mr.
LaChapelle.
LaChapelle.
If you did not, I will forward it to you.
No, it was only for candidates, so she wouldn't have gone.
Oh, that's right, just candidates, I'm sorry.
Right, yeah.
I'm voting against you, did not get an email.
From last year is that really is just for the students.
Just for kids.
Just
Yeah.
space-wise in the auditorium, they can't accommodate parents.
Sure.
So.
So let's begin. They
learning
split us over 2
opportunity
weeks. So
To sneak in the back.
Sarah's 17, I'm 27. That should be fun.
Well, civics is an important topic, so
Yes.
I'm glad we're
Glad we can
experiencing that.
participate.
Yes, exactly. Okay, other new business or other items to bring up? I would say, I think I know we talked about this in the retreat, and I mentioned it to the superintendent, and Mr. Boger also brought it up, that, this AI, the topic of AI was on our list to probably form some kind of working group that maybe it's an advisory committee or a task force that can kind of report out to the full school committee, probably in the spring. So maybe we can work on, Mr. Broger, if you're interested, we could put together just sort of a quick overview of that and work with the superintendent to figure out whether it's, best as an advisory committee of the school committee or something that's more of a hybrid, similar to what we did with the cell phone policy. And maybe have that be a topic that we can talk about in the next meeting about putting that together. Start to discuss AI in the schools, because I know you have a parallel process with MIT that's happening.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, that would be great to hear about at some point. Maybe in the next meeting or something, just a
Yeah,
short.
we have some parents from my superintendent advisory and other parents that are in the field that would be good,
Good.
Yeah.
for an ad hoc committee. They have the technology background that are actually involved in it right now.
I think it might be worth saying, unlike some other topics, cell phones or something like that, things are accelerating so quickly, and even the last couple of days with what's happening with Sora too, it might be worth trying to accelerate this as opposed to and meeting the discussions and then talk about it.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll talk about that and maybe have that be a topic for our 22nd meeting if we have room, one of our next meetings. All right, anything else, or are we ready to move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.